Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Reap the Spoils. I'm Mark Sullivan.
I'm Delaila Lugo.
And you got Jason Kwasnicki right here to round things out.
Shit, I just thought of a hilarious joke. I almost want to restart the show for it. I should have called us Reaper the Spoils.
Ha 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 ha! I get it.
It's terrible.
I know, but that's
sit in
why.
the corner.
That's why I basically am in a corner. Okay, Reap the Spoils. It's monthly Spoilercast. We play a game. Usually, the game that we've played is in the title of the episode. So, if you look at that title and you see the name of that game, and you haven't played that game, you should pause this episode and go play that game. Then come back to this episode and listen to us talk about it, because we don't want to ruin your first experience with said game. But if you would like us to ruin it for you, that's your prerogative. You know, I can't control your life. I can only guide it. I can only advise it. So yeah, Jason, what game were we playing? What game did we play? What game were we talking about?
Mass Effect, yo.
Mass Effect. Which one? There's like a dozen of those.
Yeah, but there's only one called Mass Effect. The other one's called 2. I think they did the 3. And then there's another one. It's got a name. I think it was called Andromeda, but nobody talks about that one.
Yeah, no one does talk about that one. Yeah, we're talking about the first Mass Effect. We all played the Legendary Edition version, so I don't think it matters. Like, our anecdotal knowledge and feelings are all going to be based around that version. So if you haven't played that version, you go play it for a little while just to get a feel for it. But like, we didn't play the original version. One of those instances.
I did play on. I never played the original Xbox or PC versions. I did play when they collected them all on the PlayStation 3, which, to my knowledge, was just a straight port. So it's essentially the same game.
Yeah, that's my bad. Jason did play the original.
I also played the original very briefly and hated it, so I stopped.
Actually, yeah, I played it. I played the original like for about an hour on Xbox 360 at a friend's house and didn't like it, but I remembered like next to nothing about it. So like I basically didn't play it, and I don't even remember why I didn't like it.
But when I played the Legendary Edition, I was like, oh, I get why I didn't finish it. But then I finished it. I was like, oh, I should have finished it, but at least I got to this time.
Okay. So yeah, we're mostly going to be speaking to the Legendary Edition. That's what we all played recently, but I don't think it matters if you played the original version or the Legendary Edition or both. Then you should be fine, I think. Before we continue, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping notes. This primarily pertains to our YouTube listeners. First of all, I apologize for the bonus episode, the Game Awards episode, coming out so late. And what that kind of comes down to is just video editing, just being a pain in the ass, and my life being busy. And so, yeah, ultimately, to make sure that the episode comes out on YouTube faster, because I know a lot of people would rather listen on YouTube, it's just going to be a still image with our faces and the game that we're playing, and that's it. I'm sorry.
I mean, if we got more views, we would definitely do the video. So share the shit.
If you fuckers would like spread the good word of Reap the Spoils, I might consider putting a little more effort into the video version.
Maybe if you didn't call our listeners fuckers, they would spread the word.
That's a joke. I don't mean that. Well, I do mean it. If we had more listeners and viewers on YouTube, then I would you get what I mean. Anyway.
It's a sad day when I have to be the PR representative for this team here.
We're gonna don't say that. You shouldn't say that.
You're gonna see a tweet in 3 hours. Mark Sullivan, as a representative of Reap the Spoils, officially apologizes for referring to our audience as fuckers collectively.
If you listen on YouTube, you know I love you. Come on. But anyway, yeah, that's basically the end of that. So yeah, let's are we ready to dive into Mass Effect?
Yes.
Start with a brief history lesson.
Mm-hmm.
Jason, you ready for this?
Oh, I'm ready.
It's gonna be riveting stuff, let me tell you what. The game was directed by Casey Hudson. And it was written by Drew Karpyshyn. Drew Karpyshyn actually wrote I want to say 2 or 3 of the Mass Effect novels as well, and I think one of those I've come to find out actually came out before this game did, as kind of like a prologue prequel type thing to set you up
Sick.
for Mass Effect, which I
There's
thought was
a
really
shit
interesting.
ton of lore, behind this
I
universe.
mean, that's evident even just in the game. There's like you go to look at every planet to see if you could survey it or land on it. There is just like a whole slew of information for each one, whether or not you can do anything with that planet. Um, and that's just the planets. There's a ton more lore that you can find and dig. So yeah, it's vast, and I only scratched the surface while playing, because it's just to look into all that and to read all that and to absorb all that, it would take like twice the time it took for me to 100% the game. So
Yeah, plus the game does a good job in telling you more about the lore in a substantial way through the characters.
yeah, it does. But anyway, pre-production for the game began early 2004, and it released November 20th, 2007, exclusively at the time for the Xbox 360. The PS3 version didn't come out, I think, until the full trilogy was released on PS3, which I believe was 2012, after 3 came out, and I think the PC port just came a few years later. If I had to guess, I didn't actually look at the release date. If I had to guess, it was probably in time for Mass Effect 2. So we're looking at around almost really a 4-year dev cycle, like somewhere between 3.5 to 4 years for this game, and a lot of that went towards the AI programming and the squad mate programming and the dialogue and the script, as I'm sure we'll attest and discuss. But yeah, the game came out late 2007, and we got the Legendary Edition last year, May 14th, 2021. And the only one that saw substantial improvements and changes was this one. And it was to bring this game more in line with its sequels. I don't have the list of everything it changed. I don't know that we need to go over that. Let's just say, if you know, you know.
I can say this from just going off of memory, and not being fully aware of the changes that were made between the original version that I played on PlayStation 3 and this version. It's still, you can still feel the jank that they took out for 2. However, I do feel that the underlying RPG systems and mechanics function much better than they did in the original. Although there are still clear limitations just from the base game that you would almost have to rework the entire game from the ground up to fix. Just fundamental problems going all the way down to encounter designs, things like that. You would have to rework all the assets instead of just polishing them up.
It would be like a remake.
Basically, yes, exactly. But I did feel that the combat was more satisfying in this edition than in the original edition, so that's a plus.
Oh, cool. That's good. Well, I guess let's jump into the story before we dive more into the gameplay.
Yeah.
You good with that?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the first question up front is, did you guys save or sacrifice the council? Let's talk about the council.
Council fucking sucks.
The council, who I would probably call the main antagonists of this fucking game.
They're literally the worst aliens, all the uninteresting aliens.
I wouldn't say that. I don't know.
Literally all the interesting alien races are not part of the council.
Yeah.
So wait, who was on the council? We had
you had the tower. You had the tower.
The Turian.
Turian, sorry, the Asari and the Solarians.
Okay.
Which
I couldn't remember if the Asari were on the council.
Yeah, the Turians are basically just the Vulcan. No, not the Vulcans. I'm sorry, the Klingons. The Asari are just the Vulcans. When I say these, I'm saying it lovingly. I'm not like trying to be like, oh, Mass Effect's just copying, because at the end of the day, Mass Effect is very similar to Warhammer 40k in that it borrows a shit ton from a very diverse array of science fiction and inspiration, but at the same time, it's able to take all of that and make its own unique aesthetic and feel out of it, to the point where you forget that it's really just taking a bunch of other stuff, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So something I want to bring up with that is the list of influences, both like atmospherically and artistically within this game. It's kind of funny because we've got Star Wars and Star Trek, obviously, Alien, Blade Runner, Starship Troopers,
Yeah.
and one that I find so amusing, Jason, you'll probably get a kick out of this, is Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within.
Yeah, I could see that.
I find that to be absolutely hilarious,
especially in the aesthetic, like the what is it called, the amp, not the biotic amp, what is the Omnitool, I'm sorry.
Oh, the Omnitool. Okay.
If you remember what the kind of holographic technology looked like in that movie, compare that to like what the Omnitools look like when it's, you know what I'm saying? And even like all the typewriters that they're sitting at, and the little computers, the little holographic computers on the ship. Yeah.
It's just like, how many times do you hear like this highly successful sci-fi franchise was heavily inspired by this awful commercial bomb film that came out and destroyed an entire movie production company? You know, it's really funny to hear that after the fact.
True. The Phantoms.
But yeah, did you guys save or sacrifice the council during that like whole final?
I'll sacrifice them, dude. You need the. I mean, it kind of gives you two ways to sacrifice them. You can just say fuck them, like feed them to the birds, or you can be pragmatic about it and be like, yo, we need the fleet to take out the Reapers.
Yeah, like this is like, you could either be like, no, fuck them, or this other thing is a higher priority. We'll see what we can do.
And I chose like, no, the Reapers are the higher priority.
Yeah, that's what I did. Yeah.
I actually saved them, not because I like them. I felt like the game wanted me to dislike the council, and from at the point that I beat this game, because I did play Mass Effect 2 after this, so I have context that I'm trying to erase from my brain. But it's like, I felt like by destroying the council, I was destroying all of the alien races like coming together and like cooperating in some kind of way. And so I was thinking of it more from that lens, and like what like statuses or what access I had, how that would be taken away from me once things are like rebuilt. So that's why I chose, not because I liked them or I thought they were like worth saving.
Yeah, like
for any other reasons than myself.
See, I did it for all the little guys, all the Valis, the Hanar, the Quarians, the Krogan. All the people got fucked over by the council.
Yeah, because it's like it's a needs of the many or needs of the few choice, right? And I don't like the idea of the council is fine. Like I think the idea of the council is great. It's necessary. It's kind of showing that this it's kind of a space democracy, right? And they have representatives from all those different alien races to represent them. The problem with the council is, even after, or the problem I had with the council, even after proving to them that Saren was a baddie, right? You go at the beginning of the game telling them Saren is bad, and they're like, we don't believe you. And then you come back 5 minutes later with proof saying, no, see, Saren is bad. They're like, okay, Shepard, we believe you. Go stop him. And then we come back and we tell them more information about what's going on, and they still don't fucking believe you.
Right. They're constantly getting in the way of you doing what you need to do as a Spectre, the title that they granted you, which is very annoying.
Right. And I would also argue that it's actually the complete, not the opposite of democracy. I would argue it's an oligarchy.
That's
specifically
fine, you know?
Because it's dominated by the three most powerful races that, I mean, for Christ's sake, the Turians committed what you could frame it as a genocide. I mean, they have genocide. They use the Krogans to genocide the Rachni, and then after they use the Krogans to genocide the Rachni, they tried to genocide the Krogans. Like, so, and then they deny them access to the council. So,
right. So that's a good point. And yeah, they like that. That's another issue with the council, is that if we're gonna represent, if we're gonna represent the galactic races, all should be represented and accounted for, right? Everybody should have a place.
That's actually
On that
something that I picked up on this playthrough. I did a lot more going around and exploring and talking. And if you go in the Presidium, specifically in the embassies in the financial district, and you talk to, I believe they're called the Volus, the little armored gremlin things that kind of they look like the goblins from Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
They talk about how they get fucked over, and there's the Hanar, which I believe are the jellyfish people. And then I forget the name of the race that they're chilling in your embassy with the Volus guy. It's the guy you go to when you unlock the Consort mission, the side mission, because he's got his secrets are out there. I forget the name of that.
I know what you're talking about, but I don't remember either.
And they talk really weird. They're like, this one is in distress or something. They go like, this one is talking distressed. Like, it's a weird,
yeah,
like
I can't
Yoda
remember
speak.
what they're called.
The Elcor.
Elcor, yes.
The Elcor. Yeah, there's quite a bit of races that I've been trying to keep it straight. Which are which, who are who.
Yeah, but that's a lot of stuff that I just completely passed by when I originally played the game. Because when I originally played it, I kind of just mainlined the campaign. So you're not exposed to a lot of that. But when you just let it play organically and go around and spend more time talking and looking actively for side quest things to do, activity lore, there's just so much more there. It makes the game so much more rich.
And I'll tell you what, it helps to get you involved in the game by not having it be super obvious who will give you a side quest, where you'll be able to continue the next, which like can be frustrating for completionists like Delaila and I, but it did help. It did get me more involved with talking to everybody I came across, because they might give me a new quest or a new lead on a quest or something, and if not, okay, they give me more lore bits and information about what's going on with them or with their race or just in the area. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead.
The only comment I was going to make is to go off of what you just said. It's a running theme with this game and its design philosophy. It's almost like stuck in a middle place between old school BioWare and not just new school BioWare, but the modern sensibilities of game design in general, where there are a lot of things in this game that are they do a lot of good, like what you just said. There are no like constant active map markers to show you exactly where you need to go, exactly what's undiscovered. You got to find all this shit for yourself. There's no like map you can just pop open and see dozens upon dozens of icons. At the same time, like, I wish there was a fucking map to help me navigate this level rather than just the compass.
There was. It was just you had to pull it up every single time.
Yeah.
The mini map wasn't really a mini map, right? It was it was kind of like a radar.
It's like a compass, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to pull up the map pretty often, which in some games can be frustrating. I know a big one that comes to mind is Final Fantasy 12, like at least originally, pulling up the map every single time you needed to know where to go or where you were headed could get a little grating.
This would turn me off to the game initially, and then even replaying it again, it's just so difficult to navigate just through the Citadel by itself. Like, you have to go into your journal, see what you have, see where the location is, remember where the location is, go to that location, and then kind of like poke around to see where the mission is or who the person is you need to talk to.
That's how it was back in the day, man. When Morrowind came out, when Morrowind came out, there were no map markers. You had to go in your journal and literally read how to get to your fucking like wherever the quest was, which is like, it's cool, but you're not used to it because of the way games have been designed now for so long.
Yeah.
So it frustrates you, even though it's cool at the same time. It's a weird sensation.
I would say this, to go back to what you said like a few minutes ago, Jason. I do feel like this game is still in that camp of old school BioWare in a lot of ways, even though it started to go in a different direction, and obviously Mass Effect 2.
Yeah, this was like the last game in that vein.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. This is kind of what started to propel that different direction. But anyway, let's double back to what we were talking about.
Yeah,
before.
sorry about the sidetrack.
Council. That's all right. Yeah, the council. I did the same thing you did, Jason. I said, the taking care of the Reaper, taking care of Sovereign is a bigger priority. If I can save the council, I will. But yeah, they wind up dying. I was like, my reaction was just, oh well. I really didn't care. But I guess a bigger question after that, though, is who did you nominate? You're given that option between saying, the humans now being the leaders of the council, or in Delilah's case, I think they get nominated to, or asked to join the council if you save them.
Right.
So who did you nominate? Did you nominate Anderson, or
yes.
you?
Yeah. Who nominates Udina?
Yeah,
like
that.
What idiot nominates that guy?
Can we talk about how fucking fantastic it was in the bit where you're leaving the Citadel and Anderson's gonna unlock your ship and he just walks into the office and punches Udina in the face?
Yes, I didn't on this.
That was great.
I didn't do that on this playthrough. Because I already knew, because you get a choice that he can go and try to sneak past the patrols.
I didn't know that.
And Anderson actually gets shot, but he survives.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I knew that happened from my previous playthroughs.
Okay. See, I didn't know that there was that could happen differently. I just thought that he would always just walk in and punch Udina in the face.
It's perfect though. That's the way better option.
For sure. That was hilarious. I was cheering that dude on. Yeah, what a bro. Who does fucking pick Udina? It's Anderson all the way.
Yeah.
Also, like, he didn't want that role, and I feel like people who don't want that role think more responsibly about the role.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also why I chose him. Besides him, the other guy, I don't even remember his name, being like whatever politician to the T.
You talking about Udina? Yeah. He was almost as unhelpful as the council. So, all right. What did you guys think about Saren? How was he as a villain? Did you find him to be tragic? As him and Benezia got indoctrinated by Sovereign, and Saren's weird, right? Because he genuinely feels that he can try to convince the Reapers that like humanity and the races that exist now will be useful, and I feel like there's with a race like that where they've done this kind of thing before, there's no reasoning with them.
Yeah, I think this is one of the issues I had with the story, where Sovereign makes for a good antagonist just because he's a pure antagonistic force. There's no reasoning with it. There's a point in the story where the Protheans are like, it's an AI. Maybe we aren't even meant to understand it. Maybe we can't. Like, and that's just it. It's just established as a antagonistic force. That's it. Saren, like, even, and I don't know how if you guys figured out how to do this, but you can make him kill himself. Yeah. Although you still have to fight him anyway as a Reaper husk.
Did that happen for all of us?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if they changed it, because it used to be you had to fiddle around with it. It seems really easy, like almost like the game, as long as you've invested the points in the dialogue options,
right?
Like you can just do it.
My understanding was it was a Paragon choice, and you had to be like full Paragon to get him to convince him.
Yeah, no, I did it as Renegade.
Okay.
I basically just kept calling him a little bitch until he did it.
Jesus.
literally, yeah. That's what I was like. You're just a coward. You're afraid to do what's necessary. And then
I guess that probably is what it is. As long as you've played enough to get those morality points far enough in either morality path, as long as you have enough there and you get those dialogue options, you can just convince him.
I just remember it back in the original being like there was a special combination. Although I might just be misremembering. But you had to like play the conversation a certain way and have certain dialogue abilities opened up.
Gotcha.
But either way, Saren himself is kind of bland. I was always more interested to be interacting with Sovereign.
And I think you do briefly. Go ahead, Delaila. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say I felt like he was bland in the beginning just because I didn't understand his motivation. But I think once they explained it, it made a lot of sense. Although obviously, at the end of the day, Saren's just a pawn, right? He's not really like anything. But just the way that, the way that he explains his reasoning behind doing what he's doing seems like a legitimate reason for someone who's more aware of what's going on, like more aware of Sovereign than like every other person you've interacted with in this game. I felt like that was really compelling, and had he just been a pawn that had no reason to do it, he just wanted to do it, then I wouldn't have liked him as much. But I feel like it was stupid, but he had a good reason.
Yeah, I feel like both Saren and Benezia are supposed to somewhat be not metaphorical. I don't know what the term would be, but they're supposed to almost represent the arrogance of the council itself regarding the Reapers, and kind of somewhat help the player have some sort of empathy for the council, and even in its arrogance, because it's, when you're presented with that choice to sacrifice the council or not, like, you can actually, I didn't, in between missions, it gives you the option whether or not you want to call the council and update them. I always said no. I was like, I told Joker, like, why bother? Yeah, I did not interact with the council once outside of when I was forced to by the story.
Okay.
So basically, you have no interaction with them, so it's not really like the emotional stakes aren't there for that choice for you at that point, So I guess Saren and Benezia kind of proxies, I guess, would be a good way for that.
Okay.
To maybe help the player understand the mindset of those races, the Asari and Turians in particular, regarding this Reaper threat, and why, they appear to be so ignorant or arrogant, or however you want to phrase it.
Okay. I think the problem I have was, and maybe one of you can clear this up a little bit for me. Maybe you guys call it something that I didn't, but like Saren's motivations were never entirely clear. Like, did he just get indoctrinated by Sovereign, and that's why he's trying to help him? Like, what led him on that path? That's kind of,
you're right. That's part of it, is that it's not explored enough, and that might just have to do with the runtime of the main story,
or hell,
which
maybe that's in the novel that
maybe
none of us have read, and that leads up. Maybe that explains why Saren goes down the path that he does. It's just that part's not clear. Like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? Which came first,
right?
The Sovereign or the Saren?
right.
What led him down that path?
But it's also when you talk to the Prothean archives, I believe it was
talking about Vigil.
Yes. It is maybe implied that Sovereign sought him out, because they talk about the Reapers seeking out specific people to set up as sleepers before their invasion, and that they did the same thing with the Protheans, where there were Protheans that had already been like sleeper agents, which it may or may not be implied to be the same sort of thing that happened to Saren and Benezia. So
okay, so you're saying that the indoctrination came, and that's what put Saren on that path.
Maybe Reaper sought him out. I don't know. That's speculation.
I would hope for Saren's sake that it wasn't that. I would hope that, at least I got the impression, or maybe I inserted this into my own perspective to like connect with Saren a little bit more as a villain, that he saw the power that they had and almost fear drove him to like side with them and explore them a little more. And then using that vulnerability, then they indoctrinated him. That's how I hope to see it. I don't know if that's explored in like Mass Effect 3, but
Yeah, no, Saren,
Wait,
I don't
wait.
believe it ever circles back to him. But yeah, I agree with you that that would be sort of like to make a Lord of the Rings, like Denethor, Lord of the Rings, using the Palantir, seeing potential future downfall of Gondor, and out of that fear, he wants to use the ring, or at least quote unquote keep it until the utmost necessity. That sort of deal. Yeah, I would have preferred like a more fleshed out story like that, but it seems like we just never really got a lot of there wasn't much time dedicated to it because the campaign is pretty short and most of
Yeah.
that time is dedicated to you and your crew.
Yeah, and Saren, he's not a very ever-present villain, right? He's in the beginning and kind of the inciting incident to get you on your path, and then you have three beefy missions where he's not really you're dealing with things surrounding him. The Thorian, that's what it's called, right?
Yeah,
On Pharos. Okay.
yeah.
You deal with Benezia, and then you go and save Liara. All things surrounding like what's going on with Saren, but not involving Saren directly. And then the last two missions, like much more involving
He's
Saren.
almost a walking MacGuffin, and
Yeah,
it kind of sucks. Like
I mean, it's fine. Like it's
it
just
serves its purpose because you do again, like I said, you have Sovereign, and Sovereign is very interesting. On the other hand,
yeah. And that is the redeeming factor about the antagonistic forces in this game, is that Sovereign is this mysterious force, and the Reapers in general are this mysterious race that are pure evil, and you come to find out like what they did and who they are and where they are and how long they've been there, and it's just very ominous. um and what I will say, just to bring Vigil back up, talking to Vigil and getting that massive info dump did bring the pacing down to a screeching halt.
Hmm.
yeah,
You're
especially when
on.
immediately after that you have like 30. There's literally a timer, and you have like
Yeah,
30 seconds to get into the gate. Yeah,
you're on Ilos on this like this very urgent and critical mission, trying to stop Saren, and you find this VI, and I think Liara is like, wait, this is like a great time to learn about the
I
Protheans.
could.
Like, all right,
yo,
I guess we
that's
better fucking
yeah,
learn about the
that's why
Protheans.
fuck Liara. You got to bring
Hey,
Rex because
hey,
Rex is just,
hey.
Rex literally says, "All right, let's get back to killing some Geth." Like,
No, but we'll talk about the squad mates shortly. But yeah, like even with or without like Rex or Liara, it's like you want to learn more about the Protheans, and you want to learn more about the Reapers. But like, yeah, do like you said, Jason. You finish talking to Vigil, you get back in the Mako, and then yeah, you got 30 seconds to get through that fucking mass relay to get beamed to the Citadel. Like, you got to go 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 go. So why don't you have to go 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 before and while talking to Vigil?
right.
There's absolutely no urgency until there, bam, is urgency, and it's
It seems like that's
so
a scene that should have happened in like the mission right before you start the
yeah.
Ilos mission. Yeah,
Yeah, but like well, even at the very beginning, like something closer to, but something
but
further ahead
it almost
of
can't
the.
because the information you learn in there is so vital to that scenario that if you
Yeah,
knew it beforehand, like you know what I'm saying? Because
yeah, because that's when you learn that the Citadel is a mass relay, and
yes,
so that's when you learn that it is urgent. It is really jarring that there is no urgency until there absolutely is.
right.
So I did find that a little odd.
But again, I guess that's like the video game, the collision between video game and trying to create a cinematic experience like
Yeah.
that gaminess bumping up against it.
I also feel like they had to have known that they were making a sequel at that point that was going to go
Oh,
deeper into that stuff.
No,
that was another thing I meant to bring up, was this was always intended and
yeah,
planned to be a trilogy.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
they are, yeah, going into this, they knew where this game would end and the next would begin, and the trilogy was planned out. I wouldn't say like entirely from the beginning, but they did intend for it to be a trilogy from the start.
hmm
Hmm.
now turned into a quadrilogy and soon a quintology, I guess.
Technically, I think Andromeda is actually before any of this.
I'm just
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, other Mass Effect games have come and will come out, because the series is so popular. But anyway, we haven't talked about the Geth much, and I didn't really care about the Geth.
I think it was more interesting. It would have been more interesting to learn, and maybe they do talk about this in the books or future games.
Oh,
yeah, you do. Yeah,
spoilers.
well,
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh fuck, I forgot. Sorry. I'm not giving you story spoilers.
That is kind of a major spoiler, though.
I'll cut
I
that
think
part
for
out.
Mass
Don't
Effect
worry.
2, yeah.
I'll cut that out just so I'm the only one that's gotten
Okay.
spoiled. You motherfucker.
I mean, I haven't even played that part. I just know
right.
it. I've seen screenshots. So
it's okay. It's
yeah.
fine. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. The Geth were I guess just a means to it, to give, I guess, a way to give Saren, from a writing perspective, a way to give Saren an army at his disposal that's not just Turians, because we don't want Turians to be like the main antagonistic one. Just like speaking to his own race, the Geth are just a synthetic race that they believe that the Reapers can bring back their gods, and so they kind of also get indoctrinated.
Right,
So
which is what makes them interesting to me, simply because of how the Quarians, right? The Quarians, sorry if I don't...
They're a slave race. They were a slave race created by the Quarians, and then they
became sentient.
Yeah. So in this universe kind of takes a little bit from Dune, where in Dune there is a religious and henceforth imperial decree by law against developing artificial intelligence, and the same thing applies to the Mass Effect universe. Although technically the Quarians were not developing artificial intelligence, but they created the Geth became they formed a single consciousness and then spawned like a religion. I do want to say, though, being careful not to dive ahead again accidentally into future games. The idea of synthetics versus organics is a major running theme. So that's probably one of the main reasons they set up the Geth kind of as that main antagonist for this game. Although that isn't always, there are also other factions. Like, we haven't even mentioned the Batarians, which historically was like the primary human antagonist faction, aside from the Turians, with the First Contact War.
We'll talk more about the Batarians when we get to the DLC.
Yeah.
That's where they play the biggest role, I feel. Can we also, to double back to the Reapers, can we talk about how they're just big synthetic like sentient ships? I find that to be so fucking absurd that it is a race of these fucking
space lobsters.
Yeah, that's so bizarre, but like
cool,
crazy cool, and terrifying.
It's very Lovecraftian. That's the word.
And I also thought to talk about I guess all of the synthetic races at this point. I did find it interesting that the keepers in the Citadel. And there's that side quest where you got to go scan all of them, and you kind of just come and you can talk to somebody and just learn that no one gets in their way. They just kind of keep the Citadel up and running or whatever. And you come to find out
it's illegal to research them.
Yeah, and you come to find out that they're the ones that kind of control that mass relay and allow the Reapers to come in, and they were created by the Reapers, if I'm remembering that correctly.
Yes, they're sleeper agents of the Reapers, essentially.
Which was just like, holy shit, that's that kind of twisted my expectations in a really, really cool way, and I was really impressed. Go ahead.
Well, I kind of loved it because throughout the whole game, we're talking about all these different races and how some of them are good, some of them are bad, some of them went through this. Even the Geth like have a backstory, and I'm like, well, what about these little dudes that are constantly at the terminal? Like, I want to know about these dudes. Like everyone else has a story or a history, but we don't know nothing about them, and nobody wants to tell me. It's like completely inaccessible. So, and then when we found out why, I was like, of course.
It was just very unexpected. I totally did not see that coming.
It was good.
Really interesting choice.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about Shepard. We've talked about the villains. Let's talk about the hero of the story. Were you guys both? I know, Jason, you decided to play as a female Shepard this time, right?
Yep.
Delaila, did you do female Shepard?
Yeah.
Okay, so I did. I played as male Shepard, and Delaila, were you Paragon or Renegade?
Paragon.
Okay. Any particular reason why? Are you just a goody two shoes like me, or?
I'm a goody two shoes. My first playthroughs usually.
Okay.
Yeah, I try to empathize and understand everyone all the time, just to know so that when my second time around, if I ever play, which I am for insanity difficulty, I'm just gonna be an asshole and or respond the way I would in like life or whatever.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if you started insanity yet.
No, and I regret not doing it my first playthrough because I actually found the game really easy, and I wound up doing 2 on insanity from the get. So I regretted not doing it from the beginning.
Okay.
But I'll go back. It's fine.
Yeah, my friends. Shout out to my buddy Alex, who's been asking me to play Mass Effect basically since I met him. Yeah, he kind of warned me against starting with insanity. Otherwise, I would have done the same thing. But I did find the game overall to be pretty straightforward and easy.
Yeah.
Honestly, the hardest things about it were just like trying to use specific abilities over just killing everything in a room for trophy reasons.
Yeah.
So do with that what you will. Here's something I didn't put in the notes. What class did you guys play as?
So I went soldier, which I know is the boring class. Simply because I wanted to get to know the game more, and I knew that my party members were going to have like the cool biotic skills and things like that, and that you would be able to control them.
See, I because I've already played the game before, and I did soldier, and it is boring because the gunplay in the first one, at least in that original, kind of sucked. And it's still not fantastic, but it is much better in this version.
I didn't mind the gunplay too much. We'll talk about that later, but
it's not the gun. It like I was saying before, it's not the gunplay itself. It's more the encounter designs and the art, the AI and stuff like that. But I actually picked a Vanguard because I wanted to actually use biotics, which I'd never used the abilities in my prior playthroughs of the game. I always was just like, fuck it. Because for the same reasons that Delaila just said, you have teammates that have access to them. And I never really saw the utility of it over just shooting. And I feel like the game was made so much more fun for it.
So much more fun for what? Including
using my own biotic attacks and abilities, and not just like offensive abilities, but defensive abilities, utilities, whatnot.
Yeah, because the game was pretty new to me. I felt like using the like other abilities were a little more sophisticated, and I just kind of wanted it to be straightforward and use those as like abilities rather than like my own character was just like shooty straightforward, and everything else was an ability. Like everything I casted from my squad mates, just because I wanted to get to know the game. But I think if I ever go back, I definitely choose a different. Now that I understand the abilities, because there's a lot. There's like all kinds of biotics. There's all kinds of things.
And so I chose Adept because I wanted to mess around with biotic stuff. I thought that sounded much more interesting than just being a run and gunner.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like a lot of the powers, it's like some of them I had to reread the descriptions for a lot of them, even like the squad mate ones that I didn't have, just because like I didn't know the difference between like damping and overload.
Yeah,
like I had no fucking idea. But like,
with Vanguard, I didn't get that deep into it because Vanguard is just a mixture. Like it focuses on basically it is a lot of running gunning because shotguns is like the favored weapon for it. So basically, by the end of the game, I could just 1 or 2 shot everything with a fucking shotgun. Especially like the 2 million credit experimental Spectre class shotgun you can buy in the Presidium, but you get a bunch of like offensive biotics with that and whatnot.
Yeah. I guess we'll talk more about this stuff later. I just wanted to ask, but like Shepard as a character, Renegade or Paragon, I guess, like were they effectively their own character, or like did you feel that they were mostly just a player insert? I mean, obviously there's a large level of that. I guess how did you feel like you had enough control over your Shepard, and I think the problem with a lot of these games where you have dialogue choices is sometimes you'll pick one and he won't exactly say that, and like for the most part in this game it's a little more tame,
like
it's not
Fallout, Fallout 4, where you just get like the 4
yes or
buttons.
no.
Yeah,
or even like we had this I saw this problem a lot with like Telltale games where you would tell you would ask someone to say like, oh, please be quiet, and what they'd actually say is, will you please shut the fuck up? And it's like, whoa, I didn't want you to say that.
Actually, I felt like the choices that I picked, the way that Shepard said it was a lot more sophisticated and like better than I would have said it,
So like it's a weird question to ask, right? Did you like Shepard as a character when you really are controlling that character down to what they say?
I love Shepard. I think Shepard is like, if I had to romance anyone in that game, it would be myself. Like,
because I will say, and Delaila, I don't know if you remember, one of the reasons I played FemShep just because I hadn't played FemShep before. I don't remember FemShep being in the original Xbox 360 release of Mass Effect. No, right?
She wasn't.
Yeah.
Because I think female Shepard wasn't a choice until Mass Effect 3.
Yeah, and then they
and now
went back
with the Legendary Edition.
Yeah,
they've gone and made sure you can be FemShep throughout the entire series.
Yeah, so the experience was very different. Because your the romance branches are a bit skewed, and we'll get into that later when we get into the characters. I wasn't sure who I could and could not romance, but I will say that after playing the entire game now on FemShep, I actually like the character design and the voice acting of FemShep better than OG Shep, to be quite honest.
And so everyone is aware, FemShep is voiced by Jennifer Hale.
Yeah, that doesn't. That didn't surprise me at all.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the voice actor for male Shepard. Mark Meer was the voice actor for. Who's not as much of a household name as Jennifer Hale, but I still liked male Shepard's performance overall.
Yeah, I wasn't saying this bad. I prefer it. I was also going Renegade. I was trying to it was weird because I was trying to almost role play my favorite character from Battlestar Galactica, Admiral Kane. For those who are familiar, will recognize. She's, if you had to put it on a D&D scale, it would almost be lawful, not lawful evil, somewhere between lawful neutral and lawful evil. So but because of certain situations of certain missions, in order to be Renegade, you have to do things that wouldn't be consistently lawful. So I had to back it a little bit. So I couldn't do pure role play, but I was having fun doing that.
Did you guys pick the default FemShep?
I did actually.
Yes, yeah. The redhead. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That I like that design a lot better than the kind of bland look of the original Shepard.
It was funny when I loaded this game up and Katie was sitting next to me. I was showing her oh, I can pick male or female, and I can even customize it. And I picked customize just to see what it would look like. And the one that it generated for me right off the bat was so ugly. It's the ugliest male Shepard. So I was like, oh, yep, just going default. That's an iconic look that I'm gonna stick to.
Yeah, had the character creation been better, I would have probably modified her look. BioWare definitely gets better in like Dragon Age with that kind of stuff. But yeah, FemShep redhead default looked fine. And actually, I liked it more because I felt like she was more of a character rather than the question that you asked, where it was like my insertion of the character. Like,
yeah. When I first played the game, I did a custom male shepherd, and the game feels kind of weird when you're not like the box art character. It's different from, like Delaila just said, it's different from other BioWare games in that regard, and I think a lot of it has to do with just how the popular culture surrounding Mass Effect and how we look at it. We associate the name with that face.
Exactly. It's hard to give customization when the design of a character is so heavily associated. It's a weird disconnect. All right, let's talk about the squad mates, because we got 7 squad mates to talk about. Let's start off with Jenkins. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Leave him behind.
Goodbye.
Hello and goodbye. Yeah, that was like, yeah, we land on Eden Prime and just he's just like within minutes just dead. And then within minutes later, you get introduced to Ashley. But yeah, let's talk about Caden and Ashley first, because there is a big connection there between those two late in the game.
Yeah.
They're both pinned down, and I actually didn't even realize or think about until after the fact that like whoever I pick, the other would die.
Right.
It's obvious. It's super obvious,
and it gives you like 3. It's not like one time. They basically give you like 3 choices just to make sure you understand what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't put it together right away. Because it's like I know some companions can die and not carry over to the next game, and I just didn't. I don't know. It didn't click in my brain that was that moment to make that choice.
Right.
And I picked Caden because Ashley, Caden is.
You picked him
boring.
to die or survive?
Survive. Sorry,
Okay.
I picked Caden to go help, because like he's nothing. Like, he's loyal, he's a good guy, but he's not interesting in really many ways at all. Whereas Ashley is a bit of a racist.
Yeah, and there's like backstory to that. She's been through some shit, which like doesn't justify it at all. Like, people suck, aliens, like all different. People suck no matter where they're from or what they look like, right?
Sure.
But like once you get to know her, like you do kind of understand. Like, basically, humans were kind of like treated like shit in a sense, and her
like,
family especially.
And it's also worth noting, I wouldn't go far to say, because there are human factions in the game, political factions that are like straight up just racist, particularly the Terra Firma Party, which you can actually interact with in a side quest, one of their politicians. And she is pretty explicitly against those if you talk to her in depth, which would normally, if you're male shep, I guess be the romance dialogue. But if you're fem shep, it just plays kind of like a deeper one-on-one conversation. She does question you about, like, are you an extremist? Especially if you're renegade. Like, she'll talk about like your actions, because a lot of renegade actions are kind of like humanity first type stuff. So I don't think it's fair to say like she is a racist.
Well,
she's just more she prioritizes humanity over the others.
And that's why I say she's a bit, because she's very untrusting of, like I'm not going to pretend like I exhausted all dialogue with her. I very much decided early on that I didn't want to romance her. When the other choice was, in my opinion, the clearly superior choice, Liara.
She sucks.
Stop it. We're gonna fight.
He's getting spicy.
Tally's my girl.
So, well, okay, we'll get to that too. But yeah, so the bit that I talked to her, and I feel like it was pretty early on, where like, I had the full crew on the Normandy. So we had Garrus, Rex, and Tally, and Liara, all different alien races. And she's like, Commander, you're just gonna let them like have access around the whole ship. I'm like,
yeah.
It's like, you sure about that? I don't trust them. And I'm like, why? And so like that's why I say, she's a bit of a racist.
She also compared some of the aliens to animals,
Yeah.
like saying they look the same.
Like she says some very,
she says some messed up things,
questionable shit.
And for the sake of the audience, just because we just played through the game, but for the sake of the audience, if they did not explore the dialogue options further, her backstory is basically her grandfather is infamous in humanity for having surrendered a planet during the First Contact War with the Turians, I believe. And essentially, she and her family have been trying to regain that honor, even though her grandfather made it for really logical decisions. The Turians were essentially massacring innocent civilians.
Yep.
I actually don't think I knew that, so thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know if because like I said, I didn't even talk to Caden very much because I just didn't find him interesting.
And he isn't, even when you talk to him.
His backstory,
I feel like Ashley's definitely more interesting.
Yeah, Caden has somewhat of an interesting backstory, but it basically revolves a lot around his training as a biotic. And this Turian that liked to torture the human biotics during training, and Caden ends up killing him when he almost the Turian instructor almost kills a girl because she was tired and refused to do so. I don't remember the specifics of it. Basically, Caden killed his instructor, and it was a whole thing, and they had to shut down the program because his instructor was an asshole Turian. So that's basically his backstory. And aside from that, he's a pretty even-keeled guy who has no opinion on anything that happens when you ask him.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually chose initially I sent Caden on the mission because I was like, I want to be sad about a death, and I feel like I would be a little more sad about him than Ashley, simply because she was kind of an asshole, whereas he was just like a nice guy, although boring. But then at the end, I was like, I don't know, whatever. And then I sent her to die. But I do feel like her character overall was more interesting than Caden's. And she had a crush on him, but he had a crush on me. So that was I was like, girl, take him. Yeah. She was she was on the phone with one of her friends, and she was like, oh, that guy.
No,
Caden's
it's her
cute.
sister.
Oh, her sister. Yeah, her sister.
But
interesting.
Which,
yeah.
Speaking of that, Caden, he was into me immediately, and I was like, bro, we didn't even get to know each other, and he already was flirting with me, which I found weird. And that happened with the other romance option that I had, which was Liara, which we'll get into. But
I find that funny because he never flirted with me, but that also might just be because even though I was playing the game full on Renegade, I was very military, strict protocol. So I always told him to keep shit to himself and whatnot. So that might be why he never.
Why.
Yeah, that might be why he never flirted. I did it basically with everybody. I was just an asshole. Which is why I chose. I usually choose Caden to die, but I chose him this time because military protocol would make more sense to send a lieutenant with the Solarians than a grunt soldier.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. But Ashley, she is, although racist, she is charming. I some conversations where I was like, we could be homies if you didn't say some real fucked up shit.
Yeah.
She was in a story, let's say this was just a human story, she would have been a badass, but because there's other entities involved in this, it's a space, aliens, she seems like a racist bitch.
I will say again, without spoiling future games accidentally, that that perception would probably change very early on in Mass Effect 2.
Well, I did finish Mass Effect 2, but yeah, I don't know.
We'll just flag that
we'll
down.
Leave it there. We'll leave it there.
We are not spoiling Mass Effect 2. Okay. Let's talk about the other romance option while we're on the romance roll. It sounds like did all of us bang Liara?
No, I didn't bang anybody.
Oh, you didn't bang anybody?
I did because I didn't know who trophy.
I didn't know who I could and couldn't, and apparently you can't do Ashley. There's no lesbian with Ashley.
No, there's no. I don't think there's any gay romance until Mass Effect 3 from what
Well,
I've read.
No, you can
technically
do Miranda.
Liara.
You can do Miranda in 2, I think.
Yeah, no, you
As
can't.
Femsha? I don't think so.
No,
Really?
she.
I thought you
Yeah,
could.
but Liara is gender fluid, and she
Well,
will be
yeah. So
femship or maleship, I believe.
technically, the Asari don't. If I'm correct on the lore, they don't have a gen. They basically appear however you want them to appear. So basically, the way you see the Asari is whatever sexually stimulates you. Long story short.
Which,
So
although they all look
yeah.
like women, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's because it's supposed to be the way Shepard sees the Asari.
Well,
Yeah.
Right.
but if you're female Shepherd, what does that say about female Shepherd? You know, I think that's what Delilah's getting at.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know why you don't like Liara so much. I don't know.
I
like
see her as just a bland. She's not. She's just bland to me. Like she is essentially her and Tali are. So this is the way I look at the entire cast. Caden, Ashley, and Liara are like the B team. They're just kind of like whatever. Like they're stock characters. And then the really interesting character of the A teams is Rex, Garrus, and Tali. And the reason that I don't like Liara is because Tali and Liara essentially have the same base archetypal character arc. They're young, naive, and are kind of on a journey for knowledge in a sense. Tali's background and her personality growth is just far more interesting. A lot of that, to be fair, just has to do with the Asari themselves and the way they talk and their culture and whatnot. It's kind of bland. Again, they're Vulcans. Like it's, but again, but that's why it's so important that they give Spock the human moments they do in Star Trek, which I feel they don't give to Liara in at least Mass Effect 1.
Yeah, I guess I could agree with that. I think Liara very much serves to provide more context behind the Prothean, because she's a Prothean expert. So like getting saving her and having her join the party allows us to gain more context and information behind the beacon, the Prothean beacon, and the vision that we saw. And I don't disagree completely that, you know, her personality is somewhat bland. Hopefully in future installments she gets better.
It does.
I don't know. Okay, then there we go.
Yeah,
Spoilers: Liara gets more interesting.
I also have a bit of a bias towards Tali just because I find the Quarians to be one of, if not the most interesting of the races.
And I will agree that I think Tali is a much more interesting character, and you know, they are very similar, even down to their strengths, one being like full tech strength and the other being full biotic strength. I agree that her background, I mean, but that's also not to discount Asar or Liara's connection to Benezia. I do think that's also kind of an important factor.
Yeah, I chose to romance her not just because of like her connection to Benezia, me just being intrigued overall by her knowledge of the Protheans and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Because I felt like Tali's story was a lot more like macro, and they really don't explore more of her until 2. But also I felt like I wanted to see this whole mind bending thing that they do when you romance them. I wanted to understand that. It was very strange to me, so I was like, let's check this out. It seemed different than
it's basically mind meld. Yeah, it's mind meld, Vulcan mind melding. But
sounds dope.
But
I can get into that.
No, that's why I keep saying they're the Vulcans, because they're emotionless and all that stuff. But I guess technically I did romance somebody, because if you do the side quest mission for the consort, the Asari consort, in the tower, she rewards you basically with she mind fucks you. Like, so I guess I did fuck somebody. Like,
okay,
yeah, you just don't get the
sure.
trophy for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, sure. You romance someone. I guess that's a way of looking at it.
She's
but,
the
like,
consort, man. You normally you have to get on a waiting list for that shit.
If you didn't get the scene where they bang, you didn't romance anyone, Jason. All right, that's how it works.
All I know is that my character got mind fucked by somebody.
Do you know how that works with Tally? Because can't she like not
you
take
can't,
her?
So you can't romance Tally. The only people you can romance in the first
I believe
game,
you can. I believe you can romance Tally later on, just not in this one.
Yeah,
Okay.
the only people you can romance. Spoilers. I've really got to put you on spoiler watch, Jason.
These are like, come on.
The only people you can romance in Mass Effect 1 are Liara as both male and female shepherd, obviously, and then Ashley as male shepherd and Caden as female shepherd.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. You can't romance Garrus, unfortunately. Can't romance Rex. It sucks.
Which would have been great, because like, let's get rid of this genophage, bro.
Rex has apparently Rex has 4 testicles, so like he's got it going.
What?
He's got it. Yeah, that's. I actually did not know that.
Is that a Krogan thing or a Rex?
That's a Krogan. No, that's
okay.
a Krogan thing.
Holy shit!
So there's a side mission that has to do with they're growing like illegal organs, and they talk about like Krogan testicles because the Krogans believe it cures the genophage or the xenophage or whatever it's called. And they talk about the Krogans having 4 testicles, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
I totally missed that. I remember what you're talking about, but I totally missed the Krogans having 4 testicles. Wow, damn. Good for them.
He's got a package, man, double barrel.
Well, he's only got 4 testicles. He doesn't necessarily. Let's move on. I guess we haven't really talked about Garrus or Rex much. They are. What did you guys think of either of them? Who did you like more? I guess who did you take on more missions? Did you have any?
I liked both of them more than everyone else. So I spent a lot of missions with them. I only eventually took Liara because of her connections to her, the mother, and stuff like that, and the Protheans.
Yeah, I only took Liara on because I knew it was the mission with Benezia. That's the only mission I took her on, just to see if, what it would add to that scene.
Exactly.
I did Noveria first, so I didn't have Liara with me to take her with me. But yeah, I really liked both Garrus and Rex. I liked how Garrus he didn't backtalk you, but he often he was kind of one of those squad mates that would kind of ask you like, hey, why'd you make that decision, or kind of offer his perspective even if it opposed yours, and but he would do it respectfully and you could kind of hash it out with him, and I really liked how much depth was to his character. He really felt like a different member of the party that was still, a good guy. And I would say the same about Rex, although Rex was a little more antagonistic. When it comes to Rex, when you find out that Saren had supposedly made a cure for the genophage, how did that go down for you guys?
I kind of convinced him to see it our way, how that would not benefit him in the long run.
Yeah, there was a renegade option, I think basically saying do you really think Saren is going to use this for the benefit of the Krogan or something like that?
Yeah, that they would just weaponize him like the Geth. And
yeah.
So I guess the big question I have is Rex still alive for you guys?
Hell yeah, yes. Bro. Okay. He's a homie.
Who the hell would kill Rex?
Well, because if you can't talk him down, if you can't convince him,
I guess that's true.
If you don't wound up having to execute him.
If you don't invest in the points, yeah, I guess.
Right. If you can't convince him and calm him down, you have to kill him. And I didn't know if any of us had that, but I kind of figured not, but that
was always the first thing in these kinds of games, in any RPG where you get dialogue options like this. That's always the first thing I invest in and try to max out is my dialogue options.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I mean that covers pretty much every squad mate, unless there's anything else you guys wanted to talk about regarding them.
No,
not really.
And then there's other characters to talk. We already talked about Anderson and Udina, and Benezia pretty extensively. We haven't talked about. I really expected Nihilus to be more of a character than he was.
Yeah.
He
He was
came
like
and went
super
really
badass,
fast.
and then it was like
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess that's trying to build up Saren, right? Like we get introduced to Nihilus. He's this this badass Spectre that's going on this mission with you, and Saren just kills him in a cutscene really early on. It's like, oh, this dude means business. I guess that's kind of what that's supposed to. But
and that was his like apprentice too, right?
They were just friends.
Oh,
yeah, I
okay.
think they were just they were both. Nihilus was a Spectre too, right? I'm not
Yes.
misremembering that. Yeah, so they
Yes.
were just Spectre buddies, I guess.
Mm.
And another thing to bring up is I really liked the backstory between Anderson and Saren. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, if you miss out on that, that actually forms like a bulk, I think, of Saren's background is
It really
the
is.
discussions you have with Anderson, and so if you miss those, a lot of that motivation gets taken out.
Yeah.
Or it was really just like his just history, giving us
Mhm.
some bit about who the person Saren has been and used to be and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
The last big character that I'd want to talk about is Joker, who the first voice I recognize, and it's
Seth
Seth
Green.
fucking Green. Like, oh
You
god.
just don't get it, Scott, do you?
But I thought he was an interesting character too. He has a medical condition where his legs don't work very well, and he's like
Yeah, he's
he
Mr.
does
Glass. He's Mr. Glass from
yeah,
Unbreakable. It's the
and he's
same.
got
It's the same disease.
and he's got to be super careful when he even gets up to use the bathroom and everything. But he's like so confident in his flying ability, and it really comes through. And he's a I really liked him as a character. I thought he was
Yeah, I love that
cool.
he wasn't just a stock pilot. Like they
Yeah.
Yeah.
actually gave a reason for him to be passionate about that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and he and I was actually surprised going back. I remember him. I remember having a lot more dialogue options with him, but that might just be because he does become have a bigger role later on in further games. I might just have been
Spoilers.
misremembering because of that. I'm being vague. I'm trying to be vague. Yeah,
I'm just fucking with you.
it's so hard not to like
It
talk
is
about
hard.
it in reference to the other games.
We talked about this with the Uncharted, with the our two Uncharted episodes, and eventually I'm sure we'll do more on the other entries in that series. But like, it is really hard when we're talking about a game that has had sequel after sequel and came out so long ago, and so much more information has come out. It's really difficult to do this and
And the,
tread lightly.
And the
and the
ending to this trilogy is like, or the original ending, I should say,
Don't
because
yeah.
because they gave they gave more choices in modified versions later on,
Yeah.
but it was so controversial when it first came out, and
Mm-hmm.
pretty much everybody knows it. Like even people who haven't played, who are
I don't.
I just love that every single character, and to keep it vague, every single character, every single lore piece, and even down to Sovereign, everything explored even better and even more in like 2, and then I imagine 3. So we'll just like blanket statement. There's a lot more to everyone and everything.
Yeah.
And it gets better.
Yeah. All right. So I guess any other character or story pieces that we feel that we should talk about, that you guys want to talk about, that you want to bring up before we
the Rachni, that is that whole side mission,
yeah.
like you were saying earlier, because you're right, it's basically just a combination. The mission structure, the way the Rachni, attack and stuff, it's basically a combination of Starship Troopers and Alien, literally to the point where like they explode in acid and whatnot, and
Mm-hmm.
they have the Queen. They find it's a company that finds an egg that turns out to be a queen. It's literally the story of aliens.
Yeah.
Or yeah,
Well,
aliens.
I guess you could look at it as a combination of both, right?
Yeah, but I mean that's just literally how they find the alien in Alien. Yeah, is the crashed comet or the derelict cruiser. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I guess that's a good question. Is did you let the Rachni Queen go?
No, hell no, I euthanized them.
Wow.
I let her go.
Yeah, so did I. You fucking monster, Jason. What's wrong with you?
I told you I was playing like lawful renegade.
Yeah.
Like you can't risk it.
Yeah. I get that.
Yeah, well, it's also funny because I did let her go, and then later I came upon a different side quest where like there was this Rachni infestation on this one uncharted planet, and I had to just kill swarms and swarms of Rachni. But I think they were like rogue units. I forget exactly how that side quest went down.
Exactly.
I mean that's how I played the entire. Like I killed all the colonists with the Thorians that were mind controlled. Couldn't risk it. I killed
God.
Basically any chance I had to kill somebody in this game, I killed them. Like, I told you, I was
Christ. Didn't even save the poor people of whatever the fuck that
the Thorian
called. No, the
the something Hope.
Oh God.
Yeah, it's something Hope, Exodus Hope or something like that. I don't remember.
No, it's like
Zoo Hope or I don't remember.
Yeah,
that sounds right.
It's like ZHU.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Damn, though, you killed everybody. Holy shit. Go ahead, Delaila.
I was just gonna say, my thing is this game makes me super interested in every character and every race and just wanting to know like all their history and kind of like why they do what they do. And just because the Rachni like had 4 legs, same thing with the keepers, like didn't make me any less interested in them and what was going on. So I felt like by saving the queen, I maybe would have a chance in the future to like learn more and understand them a bit, because like they're doing the same shit to the Krogans, which they have 2 legs, but whatever. But like they have like
4 balls
and 4 balls, right? And the Krogan were like nobody likes them really. Like I think I heard
which is ironic because they use the Krogan to exterminate the Rachni.
They weaponized the Krogan just like the Geth were being weaponized. So it's like everyone's doing the same shit. So like we need to just understand like why people started what they started and to kind of connect to those who are actually not trying to just kill entire races and things like that. And I think every race in this game is guilty of it in some way, shape, or form. So I always try to understand, basically. That's why I didn't kill the queen. And also like they had like a Krogan statue in the Citadel, and when you talk to Avina, she kind of gives a backstory of how like they wanted to have that there to like represent the Krogan, helping them eradicate the Rachni. And I was just like, it just seems like inauthentic. Like it felt like they just did that to I don't know, virtue signaling, I guess is the best way to describe it. Like, oh, we're, we have this as a pillar, but we're not actually giving a shit about the Krogan. If they get eradicated, we're fine with it. Let the Solarians do whatever the fuck they're doing,
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel bad for the Krogans, and then it made me feel bad for the Rachni and everyone.
This is what I said at the beginning. The council is basically all the asshole races that deserve to die.
Yeah, I don't entirely disagree. Okay. Yeah, I mean, on the topic of just like, I guess before we move on from talking about like how the story is structured, the story is really short. I didn't expect it to be as short as it was, because you go to Eden Prime and then you go to the Citadel and pal around there for a while, and then you're given 3 choices to go to Pharos, Noveria, or you have to find wherever Liara
it's in the Arturo whatever sector. You have to search around.
Artemis Tau.
Artemis Tau, yeah.
Artemis Tau, yeah. You have to
Arturo. What the fuck?
you have to search around and find her. So you're given those 3 choices, and then you'll get Vermeer, and then you get the last mission, Ilos. There's only like 7 main missions, and Ilos, you wind up beaming to the Citadel, but I wouldn't call that its own thing. It's part of that same level, and thus part I would say that same mission. So yeah, like I don't know. I was really surprised at how short this game was, or could be if you don't get roped up in side quests. But here's the thing: there's a fuck ton of side quests in this game.
Yeah, some of them interesting. Many.
Did you guys go to the moon?
Yeah.
Yeah, I went everywhere.
Dude, I started from one part of the Milky Way where you could, and I just went up in a crescent, going to every single cluster
Mhm.
and
Yep.
every single system, and just clicking on every planet, surveying them, and then landing on the one and each one that you can land on, doing everything I could there, and then moving on to the next. And it's easily
Same.
what took up it's easily what took up 25 of the 35 hours that I spent playing this game. The
Yeah.
vast majority was just exploring the uncharted planets and taking on side quests and doing them. And like a lot of them, it speaks a lot to the writing and to the what they give you, that I wanted to do them, because a lot of them were interesting. A lot, like, that for the most part, none of them were really like fetch quests.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, they would call you when you go to a cluster, and they'd be like, hey, we got a distress signal from these people, can you go check it out? And you'd go there and you find out, like, oh, the Rachni are, they're really fucking us up, like, can you help us? Okay. And you gotta kill a bunch of Rachni.
The only ones
Or
I
like,
didn't end up doing were like the Cerberus Quest. So, with the exception of the first time you encounter Cerberus, with the when you find the Marines that were lured and killed, you
Mm-hmm.
get the request from what's his name, Admiral Calusia or something like that.
mhm,
And then you go to attack Cerberus, but you find that Calusia has already been killed by Cerberus. But
yeah,
later on, you get more missions to like hunt down different Cerberus bases, and I just didn't do those because those are the only side missions in this game that I disliked. Were the ones that would just send you to go find this base and go through the same stock room and kill a bunch of Cerberus
yeah.
guys.
And that was something that did get a little tiring, was a lot, not like the planets so much, because at least, like, if the terrain was similar to other planets, at least it was different, like different structured, and not everything was in the same location, so it still felt fresh every single time. But yeah, if you go into a base, it's the same
Yeah.
base structure every single time. Or if you find a derelict ship, it's the same, like,
Yeah.
ship blueprint
Or the
every single
mines,
time.
yeah.
Or the mines, they were all the same, and that got kind of exhausting, to the point where,
Yeah.
we talked about having to open our map to find out where to go. Got to a point where I didn't have to open it at all, because I knew the map by heart, because I knew it was going to be the exact same as the last
Right.
5 that I've visited.
No, honestly, all the best side mission content, in my opinion, was the on the Citadel.
Yeah.
All of
Yeah,
like I had no, even though like I got annoyed not having like an actual map at first to navigate. I eventually just learned the
yeah,
layout of the entire place and was able to navigate easily. By the time I was midway through the game, with all the side quests I was doing in there, and I just found it amazing how much fun I had. You're just talking most of the time.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Every once in a while, there will be a mission where you might have an option or might be forced to engage in a firefight in the Citadel, but it's very brief.
yeah.
But
And it was
most of it's
usually
just
always
talking.
down by Cora's Den.
Yeah.
Lots of stuff went down there. Go ahead, Jason. I sorry to cut you off.
No, that's all I was going to say was there's just so much packed in there, and you'll completely miss it if you don't go around and talk to people.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
it's honestly at first very really overwhelming, like not just navigating the Citadel and seeing all these different people you can talk to and picking up all these side missions, but then when you get to the galaxy map, seeing all the different planets you can go to, and then not having any kind of markers for it, it actually turned me off initially from the game all over again. But then once you kind of get used to it a bit, it feels a lot better. And yeah, there were some really interesting side missions in the Citadel, like the one where you had to choose uh, whether to give one of the guys his wife's body back, or like allow her
oh
body to be used
yeah,
to like find something that will help you, everyone medically or something. I don't remember exactly, but that was like really
yeah,
a really interesting choices that you had to make in some of the side missions.
yeah. I agree. On the topic of side missions, um, I didn't realize until way later that the mission, you get flagged pretty early on about asteroid XA7 or something. I forget
Yes.
exactly what it was called, and I thought I just missed, like,
dialogue. Yeah,
Yeah,
piece of
well,
Sam.
because when you leave the Citadel, you're given, several different locations to go to, and I thought I just missed that one. No, it turns out that's the DLC. And that's what we were hinting at earlier about the, what is it, the Batarians,
Mm.
Jason?
Yes.
And that's their heavy involvement. Did you guys? I think we all did that mission, right? Did we?
Yeah.
How did we feel about that one?
I thought that was one of the more fun missions, especially because things were a little spiced up. The arenas were a little different.
Yeah.
The I felt like one of my big gripes. I hated a lot of the Mako, however you pronounce it,
Mako.
sections.
Yeah.
Like going around planets, because I didn't have a big map I could open up to see where I had already explored. I was relying on the compass,
Mm-hmm.
and
Well,
there's not
there
a
was a
lot of
map
places.
there was a map you could open that would tell you what you've already been to.
Okay, maybe I just didn't know the button to fucking
It
open it. I
just
was pressing everything.
doesn't really tell you like to go though, like where the different points are on the
Yeah,
map. So you're like,
It,
if you don't use a guide, which I did eventually, you're kind of just poking around the entire place and
yeah,
figuring
and
out
that's
where's
it can kind of get frustrating at
That's what
times.
I did.
boring.
I would put a waypoint. I would put a waypoint marker on like a big zone of a map that I haven't like quite been to, and I would just drive in that direction and hope that I found a marker for something that I hadn't seen yet.
Yeah.
And
But
that's
that's
what I
what
did for every planet.
that's one of the things the asteroid mission did so well was it actually the entire exterior map is built to kind of intuitively guide you through the
Yeah,
mission,
yeah.
which I wish more of the original game had. But again, that's also meant to, because there are ongoing side quests of collecting different minerals and random uh, paraphernalia that you
Turian
really
metals or
Turian
something.
signets and metals
Yeah,
from the
insignias.
Contact War and whatnot, and Benezia's writings, the Asari writings, Prothean ruins, all that kind of collectible shit that I
Yeah.
didn't really bother
That
pursuing.
didn't really add much to the game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, not really. Other than to just give you side quests to get rewards from, that didn't really amount to much.
Yeah.
Um, the Asari consort mission, did you guys get the trinket as an extra reward from her?
yes.
Did you know where to
Okay.
take that and use it?
No, I was wondering. I that's
Okay.
why every time I went to the Citadel, I kept looking around. I kept going back to the
Uh,
Consort to see if like the mission continued at all.
no, it's just an extra little thing. It's like a I expected more than I actually got, and I was a little disappointed. But there's this one uncharted planet you can go to that has this Prothean like structure, I guess, and you could use the trinket on
Oh
that,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
it
I
gives you
remember.
like, yeah, it gives you like this. It's like another vision, but it's entirely through text. And I don't
Yeah.
know. I expected a little more than that. I was
That
hoping
was
for a little
like
more than that.
kind of like a bit of a hint towards like what's his name says, the Zion, what the hell is the Reaper?
Oh, Vigil
Vigil.
or
So why did I say
Oh,
Zion? Vigil.
Zion.
Yeah. It was kind of like that kind of like a very like nebulous speech happening in that text that you unlocked. Yeah, I remember that now that you
Yeah.
mentioned it.
Um. So I mean, it was pretty, and it was like neat. I just wish there was a little more to it. But back to the Bring Down the Sky, the DLC. I was really surprised after finishing it to learn that it was DLC.
yeah.
Just because it felt really naturally and well integrated into the game. It made sense, and then I was still surprised just because it had no bearing on the plot, and it seemed out of place, but and kind of like a side quest line, but like much more involved than any other side
It
quest line.
depends on your back. So this goes back to Shepard when you're choosing your character background. So
Yeah.
my character background was on Torfan. I basically was pretty fucking ruthless, and like that's what my
Okay.
character was
Yeah,
known for.
that sounds like what
So,
you would
yeah,
make your character be.
basically I did what I had to do, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So like that actually comes up a lot in the dialogue with the leader of the Batarians when you have that exchange at the end of the mission.
Okay.
So I guess your background kind of does dictate some of that.
And I do
Because of the
really
history
like
between the humans and the Batarians, yeah.
Yeah, and I do really like when they like the moments in the game where they do incorporate like the amount of work that went into writing the script and everything for this game is nothing short of amazing, because you have two different choices you can make when making your background, like two different like options you have to choose, three of each that you can choose, and it's just like they really went in depth with how it could change dialogue with certain characters and certain races and stuff. Delilah, it looked like you wanted to say something before.
Oh no, I was gonna say I actually didn't know it was a DLC until you sent our notes. I thought it
Oh,
was
okay.
just a side quest.
I
Okay.
only knew because I didn't remember it when I was originally playing, and the fact that it kind of just shows up there, and it was just in my journal, and I hadn't talked to anybody about it. Um, I assumed that it was just something that was added post release.
Did you guys did you say when you did that mission, did you save the doctors or were the scientists? Were they doctors or scientists?
The
I can't remember already.
hostages you're talking about?
The hostages. Did you save the hostages? That's a better
No,
word to use.
no, I didn't let him get
I
away. I
did.
killed the motherfucker.
My God, Jason.
I told you I went.
Ruthless.
Well, it's because every other time I played the game, I've done pretty much straight Paragon. So I wanted
Yeah.
to do.
No, that's fine.
I
You
wanted
want
to
to
do
do something
Renegade.
different.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fair. Okay. I think we've exhausted pretty much everything we can talk about with the plot and the quests and the adventure itself. Shall we talk
There was
about
one thing I wanted to mention before we move on. It's really
Sure.
quick. I
Okay.
forgot when we were talking about Saren and when he killed himself. Right after that happened, Garrus was like, "We gotta get Saren," and that was like the only point of the game where the dialogue felt disjointed, besides the romance stuff.
Okay.
You see, I had Rex and Tally with me.
Mm.
So and my character's like, go make sure he's dead. So then Rex drops down and like shoots him again, and it's like, yeah, he's dead. And Tally's like, and then Tally's like, yeah, no vitals. And I was like, yep, excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess on that, still on that note, I did think it was a little silly that Sovereign just like reanimates Saren just to make sure you do have a boss fight,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what
I
happens.
guess it kind of makes sense with the husks that you've been fighting
Yeah,
throughout the game, lore wise.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
But yeah, it does kind of take away almost from the choice. Like it would be cooler if
yeah,
like you could almost earn that not having that boss fight.
yeah. Like if they had made it harder to convince him to commit suicide, I
Right.
think it would have made for an interesting gameplay development. Completely forego a final boss if you can really convince him the right way.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have been interesting, but what we got wasn't. I'm not complaining about what we got. I'm just saying it could have. I feel like it could have been better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think we've talked a little bit about the combat already and the gunplay, and using our abilities. The big thing I really want to talk about is the RPG mechanics and the inventory system, the things that made this much more of an RPG, because I feel like this game really helped solidify in me, and it's not like this was a total unknown to me, but it really helped me understand a little more why I kind of prefer Japanese role-playing games to Western role-playing games.
Mm.
I did
I
not
will
like... Go ahead.
I will say that this game, like particularly when you're talking about things like the inventory system and whatnot, or inventory, I'm sorry.
Fine.
This is a bad inventory system, even
Yeah.
for a Western RPG. Like
Yep.
most, even Bioware games did not have inventory systems this bad.
It's just, yeah, like... I don't know, because it like at times it felt like a looter shooter. I had so much crap.
That's a very specific problem to this game. Yeah.
And like marking it all for junk, and then either selling it or dismantling it for Omnigel, which like also the Omnigel thing, like you could dismantle a weak ass pistol level 1, or you could dismantle a sniper rifle level 8, like souped up beast of a gun, and they both give you 4 Omnigel.
Right.
And I'm just
And
like, what the fuck?
Omnigel's not really that useful
I mean,
all the
no,
time.
I think it became useful because I like while the hacking, whatever you want to call it, mini game wasn't hard, it wasn't complicated. I eventually just got fucking tired of doing it, and
Right.
like depending on the difficulty, it would require different um a different number of Omnigel. Like I think easy hacking or easy decryption, that's what it was called. Like cost 15, and then
I
medium.
think the problem was that Omnigel was not implemented enough because there are specific um, mission points. I actually can only think of one, and it's in the mission with Mother Benezia and the Rachni,
Novaria.
um, where Navaria, yeah, where there's a chamber that you can either fight your way through or you can use like 150 Omnigel to override the system and like blow it up basically and
Oh,
kill all the Rachni.
I don't think I knew about that.
But yeah, I was like, when I found that, I was like, why isn't there more of that in the game? Because then the Omnigel would have made more sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also like with the whole pressing buttons to unlock loot, that's just a waste of time. And it's a product of being an old game. You should just interact with something and get it. Like you shouldn't have to press a bunch of buttons.
At least it was over pretty quickly, you know. It's not like BioShock where it was exhausting, you know. You'd have to fucking do that pipe mini game every single time, and like it would change it up sometimes. Sometimes the water would flow really fast, and at least this was like in and out like really quickly. It just eventually I just got tired of doing it, and I had so much loot and therefore so much Omnigel that I was like, fuck it, I don't have to waste my time doing this anymore. But like,
right.
the inventory
and BioWare
system,
knows. They know.
Yeah, that's that all that shit got changed. Yeah,
and thank God, you know, spoilers, but I'm just being facetious at this point. But like, yeah, thank God, because when I would get the notice saying like you have 250 items, you only have like 50 slots left. I'm like, oh my God. I gotta go back to the Citadel and sell all the shit, and then I realized we have a vendor on the ship that I could just sell stuff to. But like, and you know, a lot of there's a pretty good variety of guns, like of each type too. They're not all that different, and it really, like, that's kind of the disconnect between with these types of RPGs where the combat is so real time and so fast that it's like it doesn't matter to me very much if this pistol does 50 more damage than the other, because it's all about how fast I pulled the trigger.
actually,
how
the most
effectively I
important
use my
stat is the
abilities.
heat sink, how fast it overheats.
Yeah, really.
Especially because I've been hinting at the combat is hindered by things like the AI. Like, it's so funny, the AI in this game almost tries to render a lot of the combat mechanics moot because a lot of enemies will just run at you and just shoot at you while they're standing right next to you.
Yeah.
It gets so confusing because like you'll have a Krogan Battlemaster standing next to one of your teammates and Rex will be one of your teammates and I don't know who's who, so I'm shooting at fucking Rex. Like,
I did that a few times too, yeah. But yeah, and that's kind of the issue I have, right? Like none of the items, none of the weapons you get really feel that drastically different. Like obviously when they scale up, they feel different because they're doing more damage. But like when you change from like an Avenger weapon to a Banshee or whatever the names are of all of them, I can't even remember which ones belong to which type. But like they don't feel all that different. Like some definitely do.
it depends on the weapons. Like the pistols, certain classes have different firing styles. Like some are burst fire. Some
and like
same with the shotguns. Some are like longer range and have more accuracy.
But I also felt like there wasn't an easy way to tell that difference without equipping them and then trying them out, and that got really frustrating. You know, it's very clearly like it almost behaves like a looter shooter, but it doesn't act like one, and that kind of took a lot of it out for me.
Yeah, the inventory system sucked.
Yeah,
100%.
And it also could get a little sluggish when you have like several hundred things in your inventory that you want to mark as junk. It just took a really long time to do all that.
Yeah,
Felt like I was doing a lot more inventory management in this game than I would have liked.
There's not a there's no button for dismantle all yet. The only button to take is take all. Like it didn't make sense.
Yeah.
Oh, that reminds me. I had the same issue with dialogue because, like, if I was skipping dialogue, sometimes it would select by accident, and I hate that was the same button.
If you didn't know that it was the last piece of dialogue, it would automatically select goodbye. Yeah.
I did like going to talk a little bit about the dialogue. I did like how someone would be talking and they would bring up the dialogue options in the last few seconds of them saying what they're going to say, so you could maybe pre-choose what you're going to say once they're done and kind of keep that flow going. I did really like that. That was it's a small thing, but I really liked it. I was really happy with that choice.
Yeah, and just going back to the point you made about how the dialogue, what they said versus what the dialogue said versus what the character actually said. If you really wanted to be conscious about like Paragon or Renegade, it was very clear like Paragon options were on top and Renegade was on bottom, and I thought that made it easier for like if you wanted to be very like clear cut about your path.
Mm-hmm. And even that goes for like all options too, not just like the ones that are colored, to be very clearly like this,
right? Like red and blue.
Like I definitely liked that too. It made for, you know, it made for following what path you wanted to take. Very simple, very clean. Not to make a Kingdom Hearts reference there on accident, sorry.
But they also did present that neutral path, which was nice. If you want to make the character appear in the cutscene, at least, to be not so rigidly one way or the other, but eventually just finesse your way, and then when you actually have to make the choice that gives you, you know, the points you need to up your bar, you know which one it is.
But yeah, I mean that's that, and the reasons why I say this really solidified to me that I much prefer Japanese role-playing games to Western is really comes down to the progression. I don't like stat-based progression systems. I much prefer I level up and they give me the stats allocated per my character and that's it. I like a much more streamlined approach, and like not to say all JRPGs are like that, but they're more so like that than not. And this is very much like customize your character. Your character is how you want them to be, and it bothers me that I can't max out all of my squad skills.
Right.
You have a set amount of points, and you better use them wisely. And I can't stand that. That freaks me out so much.
Well, you could change them like know very, very easily, which is nice.
At least you could do that. That is true, but it still bugged the shit out of me.
See, I love that stuff.
And that's fine. I mean, it comes down to a preference thing, right? And like I totally get why people like that. It's just it bothers me that I can't max out my characters to be amazing at everything, you know?
Right.
It's like
I was okay with this specifically because I felt like it fed to the races and like what those races specialize in. Like obviously Tali's really good at tech, so she's gonna like be good at electronics and stuff like that. So I like that for that aspect.
And I did like how they all played to their strengths, and they all had like their own, like they all had their own classes. Like Ashley was very clearly the soldier, and I think Caden would have been like the engineer or maybe the vanguard. I'm not sure.
He's biotics and tech, yeah.
Oh no, I guess Tali would be more the engineer. But like they all have those strengths, and they it's reflected in like in their class, and thus the skills that they have available to them. It's also something I didn't expect. I don't know why I didn't expect it, but like I guess for trophies, certain abilities would be locked to only some of your squad mates. So like getting the AI hacking trophy took fucking forever because only one person has that skill. Right. It took a really long time to get that. But
for the just real quick, a trophy thing for the other abilities, like the biotic abilities, you could just do it at like a Citadel terminal and still get the trophy.
Yeah, it's really funny. I think that's about I think that's about all I have to say before we move on to the final question. Is there anything else you guys want to bring up or talk about before we
Just
close
the
this out?
gameplay in general. The combat is tough at first, but then when you get used to it, it's really not that bad. And I
Yeah.
guess that's my theme with this entire game is like there's a lot of jank to it, but you get used to the jank
It's
easier than I thought when I first powered it up.
Ooh.
you have to take yourself out of the mindset that modern game design has put you in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it's not as hard, and my final comment would be that even though I wouldn't say it's a better game, I almost prefer this one to the other two. Even
Mm.
though I think the stories in the others, it gets better.
Yeah.
Although three is a whole nother conversation, but two definitely I think expands and improves the storytelling.
Hmm.
However, I personally like this game, the first one, better than the rest of the trilogy, purely because of what Mark was just talking about, the Western aspects of the role playing, the customization, the lack of hand holding, the immersion you feel. Every time I booted up the game and logged in, I felt like I was, playing another episode of my favorite science fiction show or something like that. Like, and I was in control of the story and where it was going. Like, I could walk over and talk to this guy, and who knows, maybe it would unlock some quest. I go out to this system and find something to do. I felt very drawn into the world, as opposed to the gameplay design of future installments where the storytelling might be better, um, even on an objective level, but overall, gameplay wise and systems wise, I didn't feel as in control, or um, it
Mm.
felt a little more on rails. And that's probably to the story's betterment, but
Yeah, because I think with these kind of games, you want to get to the story because that's the
yeah,
creme de la creme of the Mass Effect games from what I've experienced so far. Like the story, the writing is like the best part of these games,
Yeah,
and
you're not.
everything else is kind of secondary or tertiary. Where so then I'm the opposite of you, where I want my hand to be held in like navigating systems and getting to this planet and doing this mission because I just want to get to like the meat of the game, which is the
yeah.
dialogue.
But I'm also the guy that put like 300 hours in fucking Fallout New Vegas. So, like, I have so many run playthroughs of that game. Like,
Yeah,
Nice.
I know I just like talked shit on the RPG mechanics, but like from what I understand about 2 and 3, they drop a lot of those. So
they do.
even if they're not my favorite RPG mechanics, I would still rather the RPG mechanics be there than not be there. And I also agree that I like, even though the lack of hand holding sometimes did become a little frustrating and jarring, like it was still it was nice to go back to a time where
Hmm.
the game was where with a game that was like that. Yeah, the thing is this game came out in 2007, so yeah, playing it now, even with the legendary edition, you kind of got to go in with certain lenses.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And go ahead, Delilah.
And that overwhelming feeling, not just with the different systems and the different abilities and the gameplay and the all the galaxies and stuff, or all the planets, I mean, um, that also transferred over to the lore for me because at first I was like, this is a lot to soak in initially, especially in the Citadel where you're learning about all these races and you're getting all these codexes and you're getting all these like decisions to make. So I just like I'm speaking to people like with like that are used to modern games, like that are just playing this for the first time. Like stick through it, the characters that you get to know, like the missions that you do, they'll make all of that stuff make better sense.
Yeah, so much of the exposition is they do a very good job of indirect exposition to the point where, but like you're saying, sometimes it's almost to its detriment where there's stuff Mark didn't even know about certain characters,
Yeah.
and it's not even just something about Ashley. Like that is a major lore point to the point where it's like a fucking holiday for the human race. The day that the planet was liberated, and it becomes a whole focal point of like a mission and stuff. So like the first contact war, like it's never even brought up directly in the story. That the first time the humans made contact with the Turians are like, oh shit, let's go to war with them. Like, you don't even realize what the first contact war is until I think a conversation with Rex in the hangar, where he's talking to you about the Xenovage and you bring up the first contact war.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all done very indirectly, which can be a plus and a minus.
Yeah, two things that I actually do want to bring up before we close out the episode. One, yeah, that's something I didn't bring up about the squad mates and your companions and all. I did, with how much I missed about with certain squad mates, it all comes down to the fact that I didn't talk to them between missions.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't talk to them throughout the game, and because it was a little cumbersome. You know, you have to go seek them out in the Normandy, and while it's like not a whole lot of work, it's more than I would have liked, because they're like downstairs, some of them are down in elevators, so you gotta go and, you know, really seek some of them out. And it's just like, especially with bouncing between, like, you know, 30 uncharted planets and clusters and and systems within the galaxy, is just like, oh my god.
That's another thing I think they actually rectify, if I remember correctly, in future installments, is they keep the crew closer together. If I remember correctly, on
Good,
the Normandy.
because
No.
I
oh
don't remember.
no,
Maybe I'm remembering wrong, because I
spoilers.
remember them being all up on the deck.
No, there's so many more companions that it
Well,
feels like that, but they're all spread in different sectors, just like this one, like Tali's in the engineer room. But it gives each of them more personality, like where they are, so it feels better. It's not just
Okay.
like they place them there to be annoying. It's like, no, like they place this person here because this is what they're into, kind of thing. And then you like could see their rooms or their space like representing who they are, so it feels like better, less
Okay.
annoying.
I guess Ashley just likes lockers. That's why she's by the lockers.
I mean, Rex is down by those too. I guess he likes lockers too, you know?
Yeah, it wasn't
What's he
as
Rex
doing?
is just
good.
brooding. He's just always against a
Yeah, it's
wall
true.
anywhere.
He's just mad at everything, the world. Shit, I had one more note that I wanted to bring up. Oh, yes. Did you guys give an interview with the reporter?
No, I told him to fuck
No.
off.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I tried to. I was like, okay, like what's going on? And I felt like she was just like trying to screw me over and like use the information against me.
Oh,
So,
okay. See, I just played like Spectre PR and just
mm,
like gave super diplomatic. Like, I had a lot of Paragon options at that time, so I just answered all basically Paragon options and like just clued her into what was going on and was like trying to be as honest as possible, but like being like, oh, this is for the betterment of the galaxy, like totally gonna like save everyone and stop Saren because he's bad. And
yeah.
like whatever. According to my friend Alex, I didn't know this, but you can punch her in the face.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
he was very disappointed that I didn't do that, but I didn't know it was an option, and I was being a goody two shoes, so like I probably wouldn't have done it anyway, but it is hilarious to know about.
Yeah, I
And
was being a good sushis too, but she was really like just a bit annoying.
Yeah, I
speaking to the
honestly,
news, that's speaking. Just a real quick note. Listen to the news that plays while you're in the elevators, and because you'll
Mm-hmm.
get side quests from that.
not even that, but like like they'll talk about things that you've done. Like if you've done a
Mm-hmm.
side
Yeah.
quest, sometimes if you get in an elevator, the radio will come on and they'll talk about like, it's, Commander Shepard, or you know, whatever, this happened somewhere in the galaxy, and I'm like, oh, holy shit, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And that happened like several times. I don't remember exactly how many times, but and I wonder if it would have happened more if I had gone back to the Citadel and taken more breathing room in between going to uncharted planets and doing more side quests.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought that was really really cool and a nice detail. But yeah, with the reporter, like I didn't think anything of her. I did think it would turn into something more. Like I thought maybe I'd have to interview or get to do another interview with her again later in the game. Um, but I just tried to be as open and honest with her as possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are the last things I wanted to bring up. Anything else before the final question?
No.
All right. Um, this kind of only pertains to the Legendary Edition that we all played, but with this game in particular, they updated quite a bit. They made the Mako, easier to control, and I think brought some of the shooting mechanics up and combat mechanics more up to snuff with the later entries. Do you guys feel like they should have or could have done more to update this first title? Do you think it's
not
fine the
without
way it
full?
is?
You would have to go and do a full remake,
Yeah.
like we briefly mentioned earlier.
What would
Redesign a
you?
lot of the spaces, and
Okay.
I think it's fine the way it is.
Okay.
Honestly, I think it does enough to where it takes a lot of, for especially for younger gamers who may never have played games of that era or of that type,
Mm-hmm.
and may be way more off put by the jank than either of you guys.
Yeah.
It does enough that they can handle it, and at the same time, it maintains a lot of what made that game that game. So I think they did
Yeah.
pretty much exactly what they needed to do.
I think if you would have asked me in my first 4 hours of playing this game, I would have told you this should have been remade. Like, straight up. But then once I got used to it, I was like, okay, like I can see why they like are focusing more on like maybe the new Mass Effect instead of remaking Mass Effect 1, because you could
Yeah.
kind of get what you need out of it without the extra stuff. But it definitely would help, I think.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And yes, I was playing this game not side by side, but around the same time I was playing Halo Infinite. And it's surprising how much better the Mako controls than the Warthog. That's all I gotta say.
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
Wow. That's bold. Holy shit.
Yeah, yeah. I think
I haven't played Infinite yet, but
I got caught on a rock, and I was like, I want the Mako again.
yeah, because at least you have the thrusters where you can like lift yourself upward. Although
You always had those.
I'm talking.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't.
Yeah.
I've never played Mass Effect before, Jason.
No, I know. I'm just saying those were in the original too. So,
I know.
but
I'm comparing to the
yeah.
Warthog. I'm comparing to the Warthog nowadays.
Sorry, I misunderstood. Yeah.
Oh no, but it's at least you have. Although if you knock or flip your Mako over, there were so many times where I just had like no idea how to get it unflipped. Like if I fucked up while boosting. And also, can we talk about how shitty it is that the boost has like a cooldown?
Yeah.
Especially when you're driving around on uncharted planets, like God.
Yeah.
Like if anything, remove that fucking boost cooldown. Like Jesus.
And it's also
Christ.
shitty how they would put some markers within a planet on top of like this 90-degree angled mountain. Yeah. And you had to go all the way up it, and you had to find like the right crevice to go up. It was
like
just
Skyrim. It's like back in the day, if you remember Skyrim,
the horse
climbing the mountain on the horse. Yeah,
oh,
on
God,
the horse.
yeah.
If you did it sideways, yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. I guess the answer to this question is the one thing they should have done. And it's funny because they did do work on the Mako to make it easier to control.
Yeah,
and
they should have cut those mountains.
I guess they just didn't do enough. Like they needed to do more of the Mako, because I mean it's funny because I even thought like within the first few hours, like everyone complained about this, it's not that bad. And then 20 hours in I was like,
there's a reason it's gone.
Yeah.
There's a reason they nuked it. Yeah.
Oh, they nuke it? Jason, spoilers.
It's good though that they I'm glad they did. It's a good thing.
All right.
But for story purposes, they didn't literally nuke it. It's just
I know. I'm just fucking with you.
There's not a scene where a nuclear bomb is planted on the Mako. No.
Look, again, for the listeners that are, haven't played the second one or the third one, or for the people on this fucking show that haven't done that, me, it's not a big deal to know that there's no Mako in the next games. It's fine. Anyway, okay. Jason, Kwasnicki rating. Let's go. What do you give in Mass Effect?
I give it 7.5 Turian artifacts.
Okay.
Out of 10.
What happened to that half a Turian artifact? Did Shepard snap it in half? Like, I'm tired of fucking picking these things up.
Probably.
Okay.
Because it added nothing to anything. The core RPG mechanics and the story, the amount of content packed in, just makes for, and again, as I said in the beginning, that unique aesthetic that is Mass Effect that everybody associates with it, that is really just an amalgam of a shit ton of sci-fi, from literature to TV to movies, but it takes it and puts it all together in its own unique way that makes you forget that it's taking from everything, again in a very Warhammer type way. um, uh, I still have to take those 2.5 points away for the gameplay shortcomings and stuff that just doesn't hold up, but
Mm-hmm.
overall, this is a well above average game.
Yeah.
Cool. Sounds good. All right. We ready to wrap this bad boy up?
Yes.
This renegade boy or renegade lady murdering everybody like Jason did.
Yeah.
All right. Plugs. Delaila, what you doing?
Streaming on Twitch. I'm actually playing the next game that we're going to do. Which seems to be the theme. I'm playing that on stream.
Okay.
My second playthrough of it in preparation for a future game that's we're also going to do on Twitch.
Get to that.
Twitch.tv/Assassina_San.
_San. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I have a few things to plug. Once again, you can. I wrote a review for Scarlet Nexus in issue 2 of From Gamers Magazine. You can go to fromgamers.net and purchase that. I think there's still print copies available, but you can also get a digital copy. But also something new and exciting. Also on fromgamers.net, you can go and subscribe to the weekly newsletter that I will be writing and putting out every Friday.
Hey.
It is basically just the top 5 news stories of the week newsletter. It comes out every Friday, I believe, at 10 a.m. Eastern. That's subject to change. But every Friday is still consistent. The From Gamers newsletter written by yours truly.
Did you talk about the 500 hours in Dying Light 2?
You know what? I think that's going to be on this week's newsletter.
Oh, okay.
I really do, because that is so absurd to me.
Mm-hmm.
Because for them to come out with that and then have to backpedal a little bit and then have to backpedal again to the point where they have to put out a fucking infographic just to explain how many hours it's going to take to complete X amount of content. Fucking ridiculous. I think that might have to be on this week's newsletter. But no, as of the recording that we're doing right now, this past week was the first newsletter, and I talked about Square Enix president putting out a very NFT and blockchain New Year's letter, which is very concerning, especially because Konami just announced that they're doing, for Castlevania's 35th anniversary, they're doing an NFT auction. Which, great. I can't wait for Square Enix to do the same with Final Fantasy's 35th anniversary.
Yeah, legally we can't give any advice, but don't buy that shit. For your own good.
Couldn't agree more.
Watch the South Park COVID episode.
But yeah, wrote about that. Wrote about the settling of the Riot Games lawsuit. Wrote about trying to think of the other stories I wrote about. PlayStation VR 2 coming down the pipeline, which I'm sure we'll actually talk about in the next few episodes briefly for another thing that they announced alongside that. But yeah, it's just like I curate 5 stories, write about them, and put it out in a newsletter. So go check that out. Fromgamers.net, and I think it might be fromgamers.net/newsletter, or
put a link in the description.
Yeah, I'll do that. You know what? Why am I trying to read out a fucking URL? Yeah, I'll just put a link in the description. Thank you, Delaila. Jason, what you doing? Anything to plug?
No, I'm too busy to use social media. I go out at night. If I crime, I have a cape, cowl.
What's your name?
An insignia.
On the cowl.
You may or may not have heard of me. I don't know. I'm associated with a certain flying mammal. I don't know. But
all right.
I chill in the cave. It's cool. I got $1 billion.
Nice. Very cool. You're not going to invest that $1 billion in NFTs though, right?
Nah.
Turn that $1 billion into $1 million.
If I had $1 billion, I would make an NFT and take advantage of all the suckers that are going to buy the NFTs and make another $1 billion. Yeah.
Really. But anyway, you can follow me on Twitter at Nibelheimian. You can follow Delaila on Twitter at Assassina_San_San.
Yeah.
_San. You can follow Jason on Twitter at SolidQuas, but don't follow him. He doesn't do anything. He forgot that he even has a Twitter.
I did.
Yeah, I know. I think it was a couple episodes ago. You were like, "Do I still have that?" If you liked this show, if you're watching on YouTube, thank you. I'm sorry I called you fuckers earlier. I genuinely am.
Oh my god.
I will.
Yeah, it's all love.
I love you guys. I really do. Thank you so much for supporting the show. If you like this episode, be sure to give it a like, give it a thumbs up. Be sure to leave us a comment. Tell us who you romanced and why it was Liara. If you like the channel, subscribe to the channel, share the video, share the channel with your pets, your family. I usually start with family. I went straight for pets. All right.
Pets are important. That's
true. I agree. I totally agree. But yeah, be sure to just, show us some love and spread the good word of Reap the Spoils. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, be sure to rate and review, 5 stars preferred. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you didn't like. And anywhere else, I don't think they have a rating system, but if they do, leave us a rating and just share the show. Hashtag Reap the Spoils on Twitter. We've got it going. Just share the love, share the show, share our beautiful voices. Delaila, what's the next game we're talking about?
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Oh yeah, plus the Frozen Wilds DLC, because that's like they pretty much just sell Horizon as like the complete edition, which has the Frozen Wilds. So yeah, we're gonna be playing that in preparation for what we're gonna be playing after that.
Take a wild guess.
Yeah, you can probably figure out what that'll be, all on your own. But we'll talk about that next episode. But yeah,
Uncharted 3.
Yeah, if you for next episode, play Horizon Zero Dawn, play the Frozen Wilds DLC, get prepped for that, and we'll see you next month. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye, fuckers.
Perfect.